Hey everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today, I just thought I would finally start this vlog for the Fanfic Readathon. I am so lucky because I am one of the co-hosts this year, so I am so thankful to Jen for including me. I actually participated last year and I did do a vlog, so I thought it'd be a good idea to do a vlog this time around too. But since it is 2 weeks this time, I might do 2 separate vlogs because my vlogs are always way too long already. So like 2 weeks worth of fanfic could get a little much. So I might break this up into like part 1, part 2. I have no idea. We're honestly already a few days into the Fanfic Readathon and I'm like way behind what people are doing because I already see so many people posting amazing fics. They're already making me want to grab other fics. That's the thing I love about this is everybody posts what they're reading, kind of little updates or mini reviews, and it just gets you interested in other fics. It brings other fics to your attention. And so that's what I really love. Last year, I had like a TBR and I totally went away from it because I saw other people's like ones that they were reading and they just sounded amazing. So I just ended up bouncing away from my TBR and going to those. So make sure you check out my Instagram because that's where we're putting a lot of our graphics. If anybody is currently reading or participating and they're like posting what they're reading, it's very fun to see everybody's interactions. And, you know, I'll post whatever they tag me in because there are some amazing fics. So I will have a Fanfic Readathon highlight in my Instagram that will have all of those graphics, all the fics that people are reading, all that kind of stuff there. So if you ever want to check it out, make sure you check out my Instagram anyways. Follow me, check me out on there because I post a lot. I do a lot of ARCs and ALCs and just things like that. So I always post like all my reviews on there. Okay, sorry about that. So anyways, it's not too late. Right now, but it's like dark at night because we just had the time change. So I get off at 5, don't get home till 6, so it's pretty dark. So I don't know. The lighting I think is gonna be okay. I didn't really fully do my setup, so you know, hopefully it's all right. But anyways, let's talk about the readathon a little bit. So I have not even finished a readathon and we're already like on day 4. So I am currently reading 2 larger fanfics. So the reason I love that this is 2 weeks is because now I can actually read like the longer fics. Like last year I wanted to finally read Manacled, but it's only was like for I think a week or weekend or whatever it was. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to finish it. So I just kept putting it off. I finally read Manacled recently, so I got that done, but I have some other bigger ones that I've wanted to read. One that I actually found, Mel from Mel Binds Fics, she's amazing, and she had a post of a Game of Thrones fic that she bound, and it looked really cool. And if you don't know me, I'm a Game of Thrones fanatic. Read the books, got obsessed, looked up prophecies, looked up The Prince Who Was Promised, and all the different like obsessive kind of things. I got way too invested in Game of Thrones. I did, to the point where I was devastated by the finale. And not just the finale, the whole final season was fucking atrocious. And it still angers me. It still angers me. So like I've tried to move on. Like I couldn't watch it. I would always rewatch Game of Thrones and I couldn't watch it for, I think like it's been a few years. Finally, I kind of rewatched it again. I loved everything. And then I get to that last season. It just fucking devastates me. So anyways, all that to say is this fanfic is about John and Dany. And it is basically, she kind of went to the final season of like, oh, by the way, it's called Winter Came with Fire and Blood. And it's by Eliza Blue. And I'm loving it. Honestly, I was scared to try it because of how angry I am. I was afraid that the anger was going to take over and I was going to get bitter and pissed off about the show and about the fact that George R. R. Martin still has not released that book. Like we need the next book, George R. R. Martin. Stop working on side projects and TV stuff and whatever. Give us a freaking book. Anyways, I'm a Jon Snow diehard, love him. I know a lot of people were more upset about Dany's end and all that kind of stuff. I was fucking devastated by how they did Jon Snow. But anyways, okay, I could go on a rant. Maybe I will make a video one of these days where I go into all my anger and my issues on Game of Thrones. But what this fanfic did was she basically was as pissed off as we were, that other fans, and she decided to kind of do up to the Battle of the Night King, which I hated that. I hated that result. But anyways. And then she changed it around so that, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, Dany ends up burning like King's Landing and killing lots of innocent people and going crazy. So she basically went away from that, and she had Jon Snow, they had Jon Snow kill Dany, and it was just freaking horrible. So anyways, I'll remove that spoiler, but it's like that didn't happen, and she takes us on a journey of, you know, what really happens when Dany takes the throne and takes King's Landing, and how her and Jon are going to be together, and they do become king and queen and all of that. At first it's really depressing and she's in a dark place and having to push through that, and then have to deal with Jon discovering who he really is. So much of this is going to be spoilers for the show, so I'm sorry. But him discovering that he is Aegon Targaryen, and, you know, she's his aunt. He kind of freaked out about that, but it didn't even faze her because the Targaryens always wedded each other and they loved each other and they were in marriages. So, and she is in love with Jon. He's in love with her. So they kind of have to get through that, which was supposed to be worked through in the show, and it didn't. It was just barely got addressed. But anyways, so in this, he comes to terms with his feelings and realizes he loves Dany, and it doesn't really matter that they're the last Targaryens and they belong together. And then another thing in this that she changes around is that she is pregnant, which Dany was supposed to be barren after the loss of her first child and what that witch did. And so she never expected to have a baby again, and her and Jon are having a baby. And then the new threat is kind of revealed. We always thought the prince that was promised is supposed to defeat the Night King, but there's also the other threat of the three-eyed raven. So this is kind of crazy because she makes the villain Bran, even though it's not really Bran. It's he's become the three-eyed raven. And we discover that he really wants to bring down Daenerys and Jon. And they're trying to figure out why. Sansa was also trying to rebel against their her being the queen. And so Jon had to go to Winterfell to kind of go deal with Sansa. Also with Bran, because he does find out that Bran basically can see the future and can see all and know all. And he had told Tyrion that Jon would have to kill Daenerys. And so Tyrion didn't trust Jon. And so all this stuff is happening because of Bran. And Bran is in Sansa's ear about Daenerys burning down King's Landing and all this kind of stuff. With which, how this kind of dealt with her taking King's Landing was she was angry. She was above there with her dragon, but she was not going to burn innocent children and people down. Although those thoughts kind of came into her head, which kind of shocked her. But she just went to the Red Keep and was going to go after Cersei. And so when she went to had Drogon, be burning up Red Keep, there was the wildfire there, and that Cersei had set that up so that it was kind of this explosion that would kill a bunch of people, which is a total Cersei move. So I liked that. So anyways, there's just all this going on in this. This is like over 200,000 words. So it is a longer fic. But I'm really enjoying it, and it's very interesting because we get to the kind of reveal about like John thinks he's going crazy, that he might be like a Targaryen. He's having these horrible nightmares and visions of like killing Dany, of like the past of what happened to each of the Targaryen women, and like how his mom died in childbirth, and all these horrible like things that are happening to him, and like of him killing Dany dreams. So he's losing his mind. At the same time, while he's in Winterfell dealing with that, like Dany's kind of dealing with this incessant fear. She's afraid people are trying to poison her. It's just, so you kind of get the idea of like, are they going crazy? Are they becoming like the Mad King and Queen? And really it's the three-eyed raven is using his warging ability to try and go in their brains, and he's putting those images in, and he's basically trying to make them lose their minds, but also for John to kill Dany, because that's his end goal. John figures it out and is able to knock him out. So when he's out and drugged up, he can't get into their brains. But he brings him to King's Landing, and they're trying to figure out what the three-eyed raven wants. But anyways, I've already been talking for like 12 minutes on this. So a lot's going down. They realize that the three-eyed raven wants her baby dead. And we kind of get the Red Priestess, one of them, coming over and talking about that the prince or princess that was promised could have been basically their child, and that they are kind of under the Lord of Light, and that their other children will be, important to the Lord of Light and all this stuff, and that they have to go to Dragonstone because there is more dragon eggs there, and that they need to go there to have the baby and all of that. So now I'm kind of in that where they're planning to leave. The three-eyed raven did attack her and like kind of drew her blood and had his blood mixed with it. So now he has this like blood tie to her where he is like able to affect her, and so it's messed up. So she can't really trust herself. John's scared like he's gonna do something to her. So everybody's a danger. The other danger is the fact that the three-eyed raven can warg, which he can go into people's brains and take over animals' bodies and stuff. So they're worried about him getting into Ghost, who could kill Daenerys instantly, or Drogon, who could attack her, or just start killing everybody if he took over Drogon's body. So now that's the complication of like, do we need to lock Drogon up? Like, which she doesn't want to do because she had to do that years ago, and it was just horrible for her. He's a child to her. Anyways, I'm talking so long already about this Game of Thrones one, so you can tell this is definitely going to have to be a split up vlog. But so I'm about, I think 60 or 70% through that. So I'm hoping I can finish that tonight, because I'm already like, we're day 4 here and I still haven't finished that. And then I'm also listening to a podfic of Isolation by Bex Chans. And this one is really good, Dramini one. It's a very slow burn. And it's like basically if Draco, like instead of like Hermione being off getting the Horcruxes with Harry and Ron during their like that, the final movies, she is actually left at school and they're off doing that on their own. And Snape had made that unbreakable vow to protect Draco. And so now like the Lord Voldemort is upset with him. He didn't kill Dumbledore. Snape ended up doing it. And he's upset with him and kind of after him. So Snape kind of goes to Professor McGonagall because he is working for the Order. And he has Draco stay there to be like hidden. And so the only place she could really put him is in Hermione's like private like head girl room. And so now they're stuck in these close quarters together. And it's a very slow burn, but it's so well earned. Like, I'm loving it. I think I'm about 66%. So I'm about that far into this. The podfic is really good. It's on Spotify. So if you're interested, I think the whole podfic might be on there. I'm on like chapter 35, I think, right now. So a lot of it is on there. I'm not sure if it completed all the way, but we'll see. But I really love this because Hermione's really challenging Draco's like racism or whatever, you know, of his mud blood and like not pure blood, and how he was raised and kind of brainwashed to think that way. And so she really works on challenging his beliefs and him like really falling for Hermione and realizing like all that stuff is bullshit. But he's like stuck in this room, and he like, they just have this insane connection. And then kind of what's going to happen when they like the Death Eaters come to attack the school. So she has to send him off to another house that she doesn't know where he's going to be at. And she goes off with Harry and Ron. And so it ends up leading to kind of that point where Harry, Ron, and Hermione get taken, and she gets tortured by Bellatrix. And so he finally like reunites with her after that whole like sequence. And, you know, he's had like a confrontation with Ron because Ron thinks they should be together, and she tells him she's like in love and wants to be with Draco. So there's a lot of drama there because Draco is still Draco. He's still going to be an asshole to Ron and Hermione. So it's kind of still going off of some of the stuff that happened in the books and the movies. But it's changed it around where like Draco's fully involved and him and Hermione are together at this point. But we also obviously have all the stuff happening with the Horcruxes and like Voldemort. So I'm really enjoying it. So I'm enjoying both of these so far, but they are both over 200K words, so they are larger fics. So I'm hoping I can get these done today and tomorrow, hopefully, because I need to get to some smaller fics, and so I can hit more of my bingo board and everything like that. So anyways, I'm loving both of these. I'm having a good time so far. So I hope you guys are joining us. And it's not too late to join, you know, whenever I don't know when I'm going to post this, but it's fun. If you've never tried fanfic before, this is how I got to do it, from watching Jen and participating in her readathon. It really got me interested in fanfic. But I really wanted to try and do something that wasn't just Hermione, because that's literally, I think, all the fanfic I read except for one pansy one. So I wanted to try something different. So I'm really glad that I am doing the Game of Thrones one. Although that Game of Thrones one does like have like no spice in it, like they have intimate, sweet, like cuddling and leading to sex moments, but there's no like explicit sex scenes, which I was kind of bummed because that's what I want. So, but it's still good. It's still good. Anyways, I've already talked really long about this. Sorry if I'm looking crazy because I have my camera like facing me for once. I usually have it like my phone the other way because my eyes always look in the wrong part of the camera. So this probably is just not that great of footage, but I don't care because I've been at work all day and I needed to get this check-in done. All right, so I will probably follow up with you guys once I finish both those fics to let you know what I think. We are not reading them because we found out that's not really what fanfic people want you to do, because they're not like authors that are published and need ratings and all that kind of stuff. So we're basically just going to let you know if we recommend it or not. So I will let you know my final thoughts once I finish those. All right, thanks. I will see you guys in a bit. Hey everyone, so I am actually going to try and do this check-in really quick. The sun's like beating down on me in the parking lot at work right now, so it's kind of an odd situation here. But anyways, I wanted to do a check-in because I couldn't check in yesterday. I got home late. Now with this time change, it's super dark by the time I get home. But anyways, I did finish Winter Came with Fire and Blood the other day. So I'm sorry I'm checking in a little bit late here. And I loved it. I honestly loved it. I never noticed that this was like teen and up rating, so there is zero spice in this book. But honestly, I really enjoyed it. I actually cried near the end. I don't know if I'm just emotional or what, but I did. But it definitely takes you on a crazy journey with Danny and John, and like trying to fight the three-eyed raven and how he's like taking over their minds, and he has that blood bond to Danny, and so he can get to her. So they make this perilous journey to Dragonstone to be able to give birth, and there's supposedly going to be dragon eggs there. But John had visions where he was actually seeing things in the fire, like, you know, from the Lord of Light, warning him of this journey. And so there's all this stuff. But she ends up having like her mind taken over while she's asleep, and she wakes up where her hands are completely like grasping John's sword, and her hands are like bleeding profusely, and she was like about to like stab her stomach. So they have to like try and mend her like hands, and they're like so jacked up, and they couldn't cauterize the wound because she's the unburnt, she doesn't burn. So they had to like try and sew it up. And then of course, this is the time when she starts to have the baby. So she kind of knows it's like a really bad situation. She's already lost a lot of blood, and she's, you know, knows she's gonna die. Basically, she's not gonna make it out of this pregnancy. And she had made Arya promise, like, you know, you need to end me if it gets to that place, because I don't want to hurt my baby. And so she goes through a really bad childbirth, and she gives birth. But at the same time, Drogon is flying above the ship, you know, their ship, and he's starting to act like he's screaming. He's kind of like out of it, and it's because the Three-Eyed Raven is trying to take over Drogon and like burn their ship down. And so like it's just a bad situation. So she's like basically knows the only way to beat the Three-Eyed Raven is to accept him, where he'll fully come in, because it said only a dragon can kill a dragon. We find out this Three-Eyed Raven was like a descendant of the Targaryens that went dark side, and he'd probably been responsible for most of the people in the Targaryens like history of going crazy. He made them crazy, and he caused a lot of issues in that family. So she knows the only way to kill him is to have him fully in her, and then she's gonna stab herself with Arya's dagger that she made her, or Gendry made her. And so she's so weak, though, after giving birth and bleeding out and everything, that she can't even do it. And so Jon ends up having to help her. So that was really brutal for him. So like after this, she is dead, and Jon is like devastated, and he's going to make the priestess try to bring her back to life, and it's not working. And he gets to see the Lord of Light and have a whole conversation, and realize that like him and Dany are part of like the same whole, so that like that sacrifice, like him burning her, will bring her back, but he has to do it with her. And he takes the 4 dragon eggs, I think it was 4, that Drogon had with them. And so then we have 4 new dragons, and we have, you know, Daenerys comes back and all that. So it's a really cute ending with like 4 new dragons, and they have their baby, and it was just really emotional and sweet. And there was just so much more to it. I'm just summing it up really quick because I am on my break. I also finished Isolation, and that podfic is available on Spotify. So if you're interested, I would definitely check it out. It was a really good podfic. I really loved it. It was amazing connection and slow burn between Draco and Hermione when she is, you know, they're stuck in the same location. And I don't even remember if I talked about Isolation in my last follow-up, my last check-in, but basically like the first half is kind of like slow burn. They're stuck at Hogwarts together, and then like when the Death Eaters and everybody attack, that's when they kind of split up, and they go on different journeys there. But then they end up, you know, coming back together. And the like last like half of the book is really follows pretty closely like the movies and the books, obviously, with like what happens with the final battle and all that kind of stuff. But obviously it changes stuff around, where like Draco is a big part of things. You have a Draco Lucius like, you know, conflict and all this kind of stuff. So one thing I gotta say is I loved Theo in this. Like Theo was like so funny and like added humor, but then of course we have like him be the one that's gonna die, and it was a really emotional scene. Like I really loved Theo, so I really love this one. It's a new favorite for me. Obviously it's not my favorite of Draco and Hermione, but I think it's a really good solid one. And I love their connection, and it was fantastic. So I would definitely recommend that one. And then last night I read, I think it's Make Me Malfoy or Malfoy Make Me. Sorry, I can't remember. But it is a quick one. It's supposed to be a one-shot, but I think she also extended it because people wanted more. It is literally like Hermione and Draco working together, and he knows that she wants to be kind of forced. It's kind of a little CNC, not totally CNC, but rough, you know, kind of dynamic, and he knows she really craves that, and he's like, I bet, ask me for it and I'll give it to you. And so it's that kind of dynamic, and it's a really quick, just smutty, good time. Not a lot of plot involved, but you don't really need it. Theo even came into this one where he watches them have an interaction, so that was fun. So I definitely recommend that. That's a good, fun, smutty one if you want to pick that up. Right now I'm going to take a break because I need to read an arc, but I'm probably going to start a really big one that's like a podfic that I want to do. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I'm sorry, I don't have it with me either, so I'll check in with you once I start that one, but it's a really big podfic. I think it's like over 400,000 words. So that could get me the 3 spots for the 3,000K one. And then I'm probably going to go to a Dean and Castiel one next because I want to try something different. But I got to read an arc first. So anyways, thank you so much for still watching this. I'm rambling. I'm kind of all over the place, but I definitely have had a really good experience with the first couple fics or few fics that I've read. So this has been a blast. All right, so I got to get back to work, and I will check back in with you once I start some other fics. Hey everyone, so it has been a bit since my last check-in, and I apologize. I haven't been as on top of it as I meant to be. So I have a few fics to kind of talk about. One I'm in the middle of, it's gonna take me a bit, and that is Secrets and Masks by Emerald Slytherin, and this is that long podfic I was talking about. It is available on Spotify, but it is over 400,000 something words, so it is long. It's longer than Manacled, so I'm getting through it. I think I'm like about 45% through, I think about around there, and it is pretty dark. Like, there's some stuff in here that is pretty hard to read or deal with. It's kind of taking me on a darker journey than like Manacled in a way. But I'm starting to enjoy it more as we're getting further in the story. It is slow going. It is a big fic. So in this, it's a Hermione, obviously, as usual. And in this, we have Hermione. She is actually like, I don't know if it's 10 years or something after the Battle of Hogwarts, but, you know, Voldemort didn't die or whatever. They're still actually hunting down Horcruxes. And Hermione is actually a big part, like a big warrior, a big part of the Order. She is very ruthless and willing to do whatever it takes, and so she is very active. She's you know, one of their strongest, you know, kind of warriors. She's smart, methodical. You know, they're actually using the killing curse. They're killing, you know, the Death Eaters and all of that. She has actually been meeting with a spy, like kind of like a spy, somebody that is kind of from the Death Eater side, but is churning and spreading, you know, secrets to them. And so she meets up with them in secret. They wear like masks, and they both have, you know, voice like spells so they can't understand their voice. But she ends up actually getting taken at one point, and captured, and she's taken to Voldemort. And actually Draco is the one in this battle where she was trying to free these like slaves, because like they would use muggles for sex and different things, and like it's just, there's some really dark stuff going on with the Death Eaters. I did find the Death Eaters thing kind of interesting. So they had different levels where there was like black masks, and they were just kind of like the newer recruits. They weren't that great. And then there's the gold masks. Those are kind of like higher up in his, you know, inner circle a little bit, kind of more of his older followers. And then there's two that have demon masks, and they're like his right-hand men. One of them is Bellatrix, and then the other one ends up being Draco. And what was pretty cool about this was when Hermione gets captured, it's from Draco, and he literally brings a dragon to this whole, like, her whole order trying to rescue these people. And she gets them out and is, like, trying to rescue them, and she kind of stays back. And Draco gets her, like, the dragon. Draco is literally like a dragon rider, which I really loved that. I love that he had his own dragon, and this dragon is, like, only bonded to him. Like, the Dark Lord Voldemort has tried to, like, take the dragon for himself, and the dragon will not have anybody but Draco. But he literally, like, burns people alive with this dragon, and Hermione gets taken. And Voldemort is pissed that they lost the people and everything, but he was pretty happy with Draco's prize because Hermione is one of their top warriors. And she's something that will bring Harry out of, like, because Harry doesn't go out into the battle because he's prophesied to, like, you know, kill Voldemort, so they keep him secure and safe and everything. Her and Ron aren't together anymore. Like, he had, like, kind of cheated on her and got another girl pregnant, and so they haven't been together. But basically Voldemort wants to get into her memories, but she is very skilled at blocking when they will, like, go into your brain and view memories and all that kind of stuff. So he basically sends her to go be with Draco, live in his manor, and Draco will have to slowly try and get her memories. And that's kind of what he's doing, but she figured she'd be, like, in a cell or whatever, and she's kind of allowed to be in the house and do all these things. And then you get to meet, you know, his close, like, basically, like, found family that he has, which is Theo, who is, like, become one of my favorites in these fanfics. Like, I want to look up more Theo because I just love Theo. Theo's a little psycho in this. He's pretty happy killing, you know, and going aggressive. And then we have Blaise, and he is actually married to, oh God, what's her name? Sorry, I forgot it. She's usually the one that they have, like, the chick that was, like, married to Draco at the end of the movie. But anyways, Blaise is, like, in love and married and everything, and his chick is also there. And so it's kind of like this weird little found family, and she's kind of brutally going through having him break down her memories and all this kind of stuff. And they have a very, like, enemies to lovers, hate kind of vibe going on. But it turns really dark when she finds out the real reason, like Voldemort and Draco's real plan for her. Because when she is taken out to a thing and, like, the Order tries to rescue her, Draco had put this, he said, you didn't even realize it. You thought I was going after your memories, when all the time I was going into your head, I was planning this curse into you, and you didn't even realize it. And this curse basically makes it so, like, when she takes it, he gives her his wand, like, she kills everybody. So she's, like, literally killing the people, her friends in the Order. She can't control it. She just kills. And so afterwards, she's, like, left devastated. So it's pretty hard to watch that and to see Draco do that and then think you're going to buy into Draco and Hermione when he's literally having her kill her friends. But you learn slowly, like, Draco's reasoning, and he is all about protecting his found family, and he's willing to do whatever it takes. And he doesn't really expect that Hermione would get to him so much. And she gets into his memories at one point, and she finds out about how his mom and his dad died. You know, they were loyal to Voldemort, but after the, you know, Hogwarts battle, like, things didn't go good for them. And so he's, like, really devastated from that. So it's pretty dark. I kind of originally thought, which just was crazy, was I thought that Draco was going to be the spy, but then certain things were happening in the story, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense that it'd be Draco. And so it's finally revealed because Blaze catches the, spy, and it ends up being Theo, which I thought was a great twist. And Theo's, love of his life was kind of like one of Voldemort's favorites, but like he killed her brutally because he thought she was like sympathizing with Muggles because she didn't want to blow up this, hospital with Muggles. It ends up being that Theo was supposed to do it and he didn't do it. And so she covered for him and she ends up dying like so brutally. And so Theo was like hated him and wanted him to die. And so he's been a spy. And it's Astoria. Okay, Astoria is also Blaze's wife. And Astoria, that was her sister. And so she's wanted revenge too. So they've both been kind of working. So now they kind of like get Draco to realize, what he needs to do. And so he finally comes to terms with like, they need to fight from within and bring Voldemort down. And so they've hooked up a couple times. They've had sex. They have really good chemistry. And she's getting to see like the softer side to Draco. Like she always says it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of thing where he has to like shut off his feelings because of all the bad things he does. This one I'm not feeling as much as I loved like Manigold. It's taking me a while to warm up to it a little bit because of the things that Hermione has had to do. Like where she's like killing the Order and like friends and stuff. It's just a little brutal for me. So it is pretty dark. So I'm about almost halfway through that one. So I'm hoping that's my big thing that I need to finish by the end of this week because that's going to be like 3 spots on the bingo board. So I'm in the middle of that one, but I also read a really quick one, and it was Psalm 42 or whatever. I can't remember what the name is. But anyways, it is a Destiel one, and this one was really cool because it was where Dean is 23 and Cass comes back in time, kind of like at the end from the events at the end of the show. He's sent back in time for reasons because he had made a sacrifice. And he is back in time to when Dean was 23. This is the time him and Sam were like separated. Sam was in school. John Winchester is still alive. None of that stuff has gone down from like basically the first season of the show. And so now he's approached by this angel and he's like, doesn't believe in angels, but he has this connection to Cass. And it's just very sweet because Cass is like, looking at him like with adoring eyes and just like longing for him, and he like misses his Dean that's like in his late 30s. And you find out like Cass loves Dean, but like Dean and him have never gone there. And we find out Dean has like actually had those kind of feelings for guys before and whatever, but like his dad kind of stomped it down. So him and Cass are kind of traveling across the country, doing hunting trips, and like basically really bonding and getting to know each other. And so there's a lot of mutual pining. It's very cute, very sweet. But like what's gonna happen once like to get Cass goes back, because Cass can't tell him blah about his future or like how they met, because he's like, I can't affect time. Things could happen if I affect your timeline, so I can tell you some stuff, but I'm gonna have to wipe your memory type of thing. So I really liked it. It was cute. It wasn't super spicy. It took a while for them to like kind of get anywhere, and I wanted more. I think the author might have said that I might do a second part, so I don't know if there's another part to it, but I thought it was really cute. I would definitely recommend it. Again, we're not doing ratings. Like I have my own ratings I'm putting down just so I know where I rank it, but I would definitely recommend it for something really quick. I think it was like around 25,000 words or something, so it wasn't that long and pretty quick to get through. And then I just finished one, and it was The Potion Master's Baby by Snape's Goddess. And this was a Snape Hermione one. And this is the first Snape one I've read. And it is like one of my favorites. Like, I realize I always know I love Snape. I cry every time I watch the final movie when he talks about Lily, and like, I just get emotional every freaking time. So I love Snape. I already have such a tender spot for him. And then like, just realizing him and Hermione were just such a great pairing. And this one had such a crazy setup because I thought it was going to be just regular accidental pregnancy, but it has a different little twist. So like, Ron had actually died a while ago, you know, many years back, when Hermione and him were just finally like about to get married and stuff. So she's tried dating and it hasn't really worked out for her. She just doesn't connect to anybody, and she wants a baby. So she had decided that she was going to kind of do like their own kind of, you know, type of sperm donor type of thing. And so she had done that, but there was a mix up with the sperm, and she ends up getting some of Snape's because he was using it for like a potion type of thing and testing out potions, and somehow she got that. So she ends up being pregnant with Snape's baby, and he's like at first adamant, like, I don't want a baby. I'd be a horrible father. I don't want this baby. But she's saying, no, like, I want this baby more than anything. You don't have to be a part of its life. But Snape can't stop thinking about it, and he really wants to be there for the baby and for Hermione. And so they start really like coming together. They're both teachers at Hogwarts, and they kind of never really looked at each other. She kind of said she had a little bit of a crush on him when she was younger, but, you know, like, he's just Snape, you know, he never really thought of Hermione like that. But as they're starting to hang out and come together, like, they realize there could be something between them. Hermione's pretty horny for Snape. She finds him really attractive, even though he's like not this generally like, or, you know, normal looking hot guy or whatever, but he's hot to her. And, you know, in her later months of pregnancy, she's getting kind of horny. And so it's a kind of like little bit of a slow burn leading up to them like being together, because Snape decides he wants to court her. So it takes a while for them to actually fully get physical together, but it was so sweet and so hot. And I just love Snape being like this grumpy, serious, you know, guy, but like, he just completely falls for Hermione. And it was just adorable. Like, there were so many sweet little moments, and I love that it was like throughout the pregnancy, and then watching the childbirth, and then seeing them when she's a baby, and like Snape falls like head over heels for his daughter, and she's like a total daddy's girl, and he's just like a sucker for her. And that's the stuff that I love with accidental pregnancy. I like to see them through the pregnancy and them having the baby and everything. And then you get like an epilogue where his daughter's like 13 and she's like a little Slytherin and she's a little shit, but she's like the perfect mix of him and Hermione. So if you can tell, like, I fucking loved this. I don't know, it just hit me in all the warm and fuzzy feelings, and it was just so sweet. So that one I think is like one of my favorites so far for this readathon, because I just loved it. So I think I found the new pairing that I love, and so I definitely need to be checking out more Snape in the future. So definitely recommend that one. So freaking sweet. But anyways, that's where I'm at right now. I am going to try and finish out that the Secrets of Masks. Hopefully I'll finish it within a couple days or something, or this week. But I have some ARCs and ALCs to get to, so I'm not sure how much more time I'll be able to read fanfic. But I'm going to see where I'm at. Later in the week, I might try and read, because I do want to read a Lucius one. So I do have a Lucius and Ginny one that I might try to pick up. But anyways, that's where I'm at now. Sorry, you know, I haven't checked in for a while, so I had 3 to go over. So anyways, thanks for watching. I will check back in with you once I finish Secrets and Masks. Hey everyone, so I am here with my final check-in. I am probably going to be having this be just one long vlog. I am so sorry. I have not checked in for a bit. Work has been crazy, and I finished Secrets and Masks, and I really needed to sit with my feelings for a couple days before I talked it through, because I was pretty frustrated with that book by the end. obviously I've given spoilers throughout this, but if you don't want any spoilers on Secrets and Masks, then maybe skip to the final book that I'm going to talk about, because I will be giving, I'm not going to go into depth into it, but I am going to talk about the ending that pissed me off. So I have conflicted feelings because I enjoyed Secrets and Masks. I thought it was a really good podfic. I thought they did a great job because it's like 75 chapters and they're long chapters. So this fic is 400 and something thousand words. So, I mean, basically like a 1,400 page book. So that is a big like commitment and investment into a book. And it has a lot of dark shit going on. I previously mentioned like Hermione was having to like kill her friends with that curse on her. You know, Draco is pretty dark. We do find out, you know, obviously that the guy that was the spy was actually Theo and it wasn't Draco. So Draco was fully on board with everything, but it was to protect his like found family that he has. So there's a lot of dark content. You find out the things that Draco's been through and his memories and things that Hermione's forced to do. And they start to really like, first they're just like hate fucking, and then it turns into a lot more and they're like completely obsessed with each other. So I was totally buying into their romance near the end. I gotta say the highlight of this book is Theo, and I was worried he was gonna die like in isolation. But thank God he didn't die, and he actually gets reunited with his love, which, God, I can't remember her name. Sorry, it's been days and I can't think of her name. But it's Astoria's sister, and she had actually been taken by Barty Crouch for years. He like made her have this extended polyjuice potion type of thing to hide who she really was, and she was like one of his dolls. And so he had basically raped and tortured her for years where she couldn't speak. She's stuck with these other women that just want free, and so that's dark too. So my point is there's a lot of dark stuff in this book. Now the reason it works in Manacled for me is we have an HEA. In this we don't. Now, others might argue that it's an HEA because it is an unconventional HEA, if you will. I never read this book, but I kind of thought in the same lines as what Pen Pal ended up being for J.T. Geisinger. And so when I am going through such brutal torture and such a dark, dark romance that puts the characters through hell, and you feel like they're finally going to win. They're like at this final battle, because the big reveal that ends up happening is that Voldemort accidentally transferred and made like Hermione another Horcrux. So once that's revealed to like the Order too, they're like really willing to, she's expendable to most of them. Obviously not to Harry and Ron and certain people, but she becomes really expendable. And I'm skipping so much. I'm just going into my issues, okay? But she ends up like Draco and them end up, he turns sides and he's going to help them fight, you know, Voldemort, and they do it with From Within. But when things are going to go kind of bad on the mission and Hermione's in danger, he basically risks it all, exposes that they're working against Voldemort. So they kind of have to go on the run, and then they're still helping the Order. That's a very quick sum up because it is long, you guys. A lot goes on in this fic. Whew, it's getting cold out here. So anyways, so since she's like, they're in this final battle with Voldemort and all this stuff, and she's a Horcrux, and they've been slowly trying to do this thing where Draco could try and draw the Horcrux out of her, and they've been practicing and trying to figure it out. Because Draco's very protective of her and doesn't want the Order to come after her. So they've been practicing before this big battle, and things are going bad. Voldemort is like really weakening, but he needs to be weakened further, and to further weaken him, they need to get rid of one of his Horcruxes. And so Hermione is basically the only one left. And so, I can't remember his name. Gosh, I'm sorry guys. I'm really bad right now. I'm all over the place, but one of the Order members that's like the head of the Order basically stabs her in the back as Draco's like working on drawing it out of her. So they're like almost there, and he kills her. And I mean, he kills her. She's dead. And she dies in Draco's arms. Oh, and before this, by the way, to protect Hermione from getting attacked in this final battle, Draco's dragon protects her and gets killed. And I can't handle dragon death. Let me just tell you, Game of Thrones wrecked me. Drogon is my favorite dragon. Luckily, he survived. But 2 dragons died in that show, and I bawled hysterically. Like, I don't like dragons dying. So I was pissed at that. But then when they kill Hermione, and I'm like, no. Something's going to happen. Some magic. She'll be fine. No, she's not fine. She dies. And so Draco basically takes it upon himself to go after Voldemort, and they have a final battle. He kills him, but he ends up really being badly wounded and dies. He had basically asked Astoria's sister, like, hey, if anything happens, like if Hermione dies, I want you to kill me because I don't want to live without Hermione. That's how hard this boy felt for Hermione. So it does have some of the most amazing Draco, Hermione stuff that you will love. I bet a lot of people will love this. And I know a lot of people do. When I looked at Goodreads, there were so many 5 stars. But to me, I read romance because I'm guaranteed an HEA. And I realized from talking to Mel and Ashton and Jen that that's not guaranteed in fanfic. I'm a newbie here, so I learned my lesson to check tags and comments and all that kind of stuff because a lot of fanfics don't end in an HEA. They're telling their story, and it just depends on where they take you. So it is a devastating end, but then they have an epilogue where they're like happily ever after in the afterlife together with the dragon. And to me, that also kind of took away from the intenseness of that ending, that tragic end. I mean, they do beat Voldemort. Their friends are able to move on and kind of have a good life now. But now you do this sappy little epilogue where they're in the afterlife together. I'm like, what was the fucking point? So I was pretty frustrated. I'm not going to continue ranting about this because this vlog is already going to be long because it's 2 weeks worth in one. But I recommend it, but I don't recommend it. I recommend it if you're okay with the unconventional HEA. If you're okay with that, I think you'll really like it. The writing was really well done. I do think it was way too long. It didn't need to be that long. Certain things were dragged out that didn't need to be. Some parts were very repetitive, but I think that's something that happens in fanfic, so I'm not gonna go rag on that basically. But I wanted them to be happily ever after. So if you want to try it, try it. I know some people really love this fic, so I might be in the minority, but I was not expecting that, so I was shocked. So I needed to finish on a happier note for me. So in the live reading sprints we just had, they were talking about some Pansy, and there was a Neville, and they talked about a better one that they had read. And it was A Dress with Pockets by Pacific Rimbound. And I had read the Pansy one last readathon where it was the secretary, and I loved it. That was just a pansy. I think it was with Fred George, maybe. I can't remember. Anyways, this one's Pansy and Neville, and I fucking loved it. I loved it. I ate it up. I read it in one sitting. It's not that long. I think it's I can't remember if it's 25,000 words, so it's not that long. So it's a good quick one that you can read. And I really discovered that I love Pansy. I love her. She's that black cat kind of bad bitch kind of vibes that's different from Hermione that I really enjoy. And she's a fashion designer, and she runs into Neville at a bar, and she hasn't seen him since they were in school together, and now he's looking very good, and she really needed to get laid, so she says, invite me up to your room. And he does a lot of traveling with his work and stuff, and so he's not looking for anything serious, she's not looking for anything serious, so they have some great sex, and she discovers that he's packing a lot. And she's like, what the heck, Neville Longbottom? This is what you've been hiding? And so she's really into it. He's into her. And they basically kind of keep having this fling that goes on for well over a year where they keep meeting up. Nobody knows about it. But she's very black cat heroine, has to be the strong Slytherin boss bitch. And she's afraid to kind of be vulnerable and let him know that she's in love with him. So it was adorable, you guys. I'm not going to say too much about it because it was super short, but it was exactly what I needed to end off after the trauma I went through with Secrets of Masks. So I definitely recommend that one. That's one of my faves. I think my favorite ones from this readathon, honestly, I loved the Game of Thrones one. Even though there was no fucking spies, I loved it. I cried. It's a longer one, so I had a good time with that one. And then I absolutely loved the Snape's one, the Potion Master's Baby. Like, honestly, that was just so feel good. I would give it all the stars. We're not rating these, but I would highly recommend that. And I discovered I already love Snape, but I realized I want to read more fics with Snape. I also realized in this readathon that I love Theo. So if you guys have any Theo recommendations, please give them to me because I want to read more Theo. He was like the highlight of quite a few of these fics that I read this time, and I didn't realize I liked Theo. I mean, I never really noticed him in the movies or the books that much, so he's just a star in these fics. So anyways, I had a great time. I basically black out my bingo board. I'll put it up here. I was able to hit everything I needed to. I didn't get to the Radiant, which is the Lucius and Ginny one, which I'm really irritated to get to that. But I have so much books I have to read for this month that I needed to get to those. So I'm going to put that off either just to read randomly or maybe the next readathon. I'm not sure. But I hope you guys joined us. I had such a good time. If you have any recs that you love that you want to recommend, leave them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this long vlog again. You know how I rant. But appreciate you guys, and I will see you on the next one.